Diolch, Catrin.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen now. This one. Oh, can everyone see that? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. So yes. The Cynnal Cardi fund reopened on the 1st of Feb. It's been quite popular so far, and I think we've probably answered about 400 emails between the three of us in the team. So yeah, it's quite popular so far. So just wanted to run through the application form and let you know what we're looking for on each of the questions, really. So the application form can be found on the website. There's a link to the application form and the guidance notes on the website if you haven't seen it already. So this is the application form. First page is just the titles. And then on the second page, we've got just some information that we want you to take note of, really. So as I mentioned, the funding opened on the 1st of Feb. There's no closing date at the moment. It's basically a first come, first serve. But having said that, we don't want you to rush your applications. We've had quite a few rushed applications so far, and they're lacking quite a lot of information. So we'd rather you took time, and answered as much as you could and provide as much information as you can first before sending us your application form. So the links are here. So this is the link to the website and the guidance. So please make sure you've read the guidance before you've submitted your application form. It has a list of eligible and ineligible costs and has information regarding procurement as well for the quotes process. And it also has information about the supporting documents that are required with your application as well. So if you're planning to put an application in, please make an effort to read the guidance. Project delivery must not exceed December 31st, 2024. So the UKSBF funding has to all be closed up by the 31st of December. So none of the projects can go further than the 31st of December this year. There's some information here as well about the annexes. So there's 4 annexes. I'll go through them later on. And yeah, as mentioned, if there are gaps in the form, mistakes or missing supporting documents, this may result in a delay rejection of your application. So there are some tips there as well. Ensure that your proposal has clear evidence rationale of need, set out clearly the problem that you're trying to address, and clearly justify the need for UKSBF Cynnal Cardi Fund to deliver your project. Evidence that the project is not duplicating any other existing activity. We need to see how you have considered this issue in detail. So, any questions so far? Oh.
Sorry, Pam Robinson here. Could I just ask a very quick one?
Yeah.
Are there clear aims and deliverables that meet with your sort of governance structure and ambition as an as a group in terms of the levelling up or the government or Ceredigion? Is it obvious to us what you want out of this?
Yeah. So one of the questions, I think, is question 27 or something. So is it okay if I talk about that there?
No.
Or
if I've missed it, fine. It's just that if you just want to note that, because sometimes we have to align our objectives with your objectives. And if they are pretty aligned, then that's not a problem. But there's no point applying if we want different outcomes and different results at the end of the day.
No, that's fine. So there is a question 27, and it talks about I think it's 27 anyway, but yeah, I'll get to that.
It's your mission, I want to see if your mission, if we are aligned with your mission, close to your mission, because we need to align with you, really.
No, that's fine.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Catrin, can I ask, what size is the fund? I guess there's obviously competition from different organisations. So there'll be a limited pot. Do we know what the size of the fund is?
So it's between £1,000 and £50,000.
No. The size of the fund that you.
Oh, we've got left.
Yeah.
That's a good question, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know we've got much more capital expenditure left than revenue, but if you have got a revenue project, that doesn't mean that it won't get put through. Yeah, sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head how much we've got left.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you can get that information later and share that with us, that would be useful, so we know what size pot we're going for.
Okay.
And the other thing I wasn't too sure about, obviously you consider the bids as they come in. Do you consider them geographically as well as their applicability? So do you, okay, we got to supply, we got to support the north and the south and the west.
Yeah.
Do you look at the areas as well?
Yeah, so all the applications go to the assessment panel, and they do score them. So it's the best applications that get put through. But they do try and make sure that it's evenly spread across all of Ceredigion, not just one area.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'll just move on then. So the first part of the application form is just information about yourself. So applicant, organisation name, main contact, job title, telephone number, email address, and then if there's an additional person as well, just in case we need to get hold of you and we can't get hold of you, it's good to have a backup person there as well. Postal address, company or charity registration number, confirm the type of organisation. So there's a few there on the list. If you're not on that list, please tick other and then specify what your organisation is. VAT registered then, and then VAT registration number. So that's just lead applicant information. And then if we just scroll down, there's a few questions here that you need to tick. It's just quite general questions. So then there's part 2, project summary. So here, project name, and then project short description. So in the project short description, just tell us clearly what your project is. You don't have to go into much detail here, but just so that's clear to the panel what your project is. So communities in place or supporting local business, I think you will all be under communities in place. So you can tick here. So then question 16, confirm which UK Shared Prosperity Fund intervention you will deliver. So this is from Annex 1. So if I just scroll down, Annex 1 is down the bottom of the application. So here you need to read these investment priorities. So there's a few here for communities in place, and then more down the bottom for supporting local business. So read these and you need to decide which one you think your project will fit into. You should be only ticking one, but if you are stuck, you can tick more than one, and then when we look over your application, we can help decide the best one. You should only choose from one of the investment priorities. So you can't choose one from communities in place and supporting local business. It should only be one or the other. And as I said, if you send your application in and we think you've ticked the wrong one, then we'll let you know and we'll change it for you. So that's Annex 1. So if I scroll back up to the top.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, quick question. Are all the priorities scored evenly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where was I? So yeah, I've just put a note there. Only choose one intervention from one investment priority. Can't choose an intervention from both communities in place and supporting local business. Has to be one of the other. Sorry. So next question is proposed start date for the project activities. You should be realistic here because by the time we've gone through your application, organised the assessment panel, and the assessment panels look through your application, it can take between 4 to 6 weeks. So keep that in mind when you're choosing a start date for your project. Proposed end date, as I said earlier, all money all UKSBF funding has to be spent by the 31st of December 2024. So that should be your project end date. It shouldn't be any later than that. 18 total project costs. So as part of the application, you'll complete a cost spreadsheet. So if you can just put the figures from the spreadsheet into this section. Project location, specify towns or communities that your project will, will have an effect on. Any questions on that section?
No, sorry, the spreadsheet is part of the application form, is it?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So yeah, we'll get to that bit at the end. There's a link to the spreadsheet within the document. So you just click on that and it should open for you then. If you have any problems opening it, just send us an email and we can send you it via email then instead.
And do the figures need to be to the penny or to accurate? I mean, if we're still waiting quotes or estimates or
Yeah.
a budget figure in there?
If you're still waiting quotes, there is a section on I can't remember what it's called, project costings. It's down further down on the application form, but if you can just put in there, we're still awaiting quotes, that'll just help the assessment panel know then that the figures may change. But before you have if your application is successful, we'll ask for all the quotes anyway before you get the agreement, just to make sure that we've got the right figures and stuff.
So we can put an application form in anticipation of support, and then once we've got you've looked at the grant and said, yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
We could then potentially firm up those numbers with detailed quotes. I'm concerned about getting contractors out or getting consultants involved. Because obviously in my particular case the project won't proceed without the funding. So we could actually put some budget costs together. You could review that and then we can get the quotes. That's useful. Thank you.
But we do want an idea of cost, so if you can put them in as accurate as you can, and then there is some room for maneuver with the costs. If you're asking for an extra 10,000, then maybe not. So part 3 then. So this is where we need a bit more information about the background of your project, what you currently offer and why you need the funding, why the funding is important to your organisation. So this is part 3, project details and impact. So the first question, what are the specific activities that will be undertaken as part of the project? So if you can introduce what your business or organisation is currently and how the project will develop the business, what the project intends to do and how it will be done. So if you can make this as clear here to the panel as possible, why you need the funding. So provide enough detail to enable the assessor to clearly understand the impact your project will have. So discuss the costs you have mentioned in the Annex 3 cost spreadsheet and how they will help to develop the business organisation. Question 21, describe the resources, example staff the project will have to deliver the activities. What experience do they have in delivering this type of project? So, as it's such a short time scale, it's important that you can show us that your organisation is, has the capacity and is able to deliver the project. It's essential that organisations can draw on relevant experience and are able to demonstrate they have or will have access to the resources and expertise they need to deliver the activities. So basically, which members of staff or which volunteers, or your chairman, your treasurer, your secretary, who will be working on the project, and what experience do they have. And if you're also working with, if you're working with contractors or businesses, list them here. And show why you've used them. They're reliable or they're local, you want to support local businesses. Just give us as much information here on who the people that are involved with the project. So 22, how will the activities be delivered? So what are the steps in implementing the project? Clearly identify them here. Question 23, where will the activities take place? Is this a current location that the business/organisation already operates from? Is it a new location? Is planning required? If it is a new location, why is this location required? Do you have permission to use location? Question 24, who will be the beneficiaries of the activities? So describe the communities, people or businesses that are expected to benefit from the project, and show how they will benefit from the project. So, you know, for example, if you're a community hall and you want to buy new equipment for the hall, and you've got, I don't know, a YFC group or a photography club, or I can't think of any other groups, but you know, just show who is using it and why they'll benefit from it. So question 25, confirm that you have provided output and outcomes targets in Annex 2 and provide accompanying rationale. So there's an Annex 2 regarding outputs and outcomes, so just tick this box once you've finished that section. I'll talk about that later on. So 26, have you considered other avenues of funding? Would the project be able to proceed without Cynnal Cardi funding? So here you should show that you've looked into other avenues of funding. So example, lottery grants, Carvo funding, Business Wales funding. Or, you know, if you're a sports club, I know Sports Wales have a few grants out as well. So just show here that you have looked into other avenues. So this comes to your question, Pamela, I think. So question 27 and 28. So here you'll need to show how your project fits in with the Mid Wales Regional Investment Plan and the Cardi Economic Strategy. So question 27 is for the Mid Wales Regional Investment Plan. So we put in a link there for you. So I'll just open the link just to show you what it looks like. Hopefully it'll work. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Okay. So if you just scroll down, there's a PDF at the bottom of this website. So if you click on that, it will take you to the document. There. So this is what the I'll zoom in a bit. This is what the Mid Wales Regional Investment Plan looks like. So it gives you a content here, and if you're a community organisation, you'll click on communities in place and it'll take you to the right page. So this section shows, as a region, the targets and the challenges that the region has identified, and you should in your application show how your project tackles these challenges. So poverty and cost of living crisis, climate and biodiversity crisis, you know, there's quite a lot here. So you just need to show how your project tackles these challenges. There's about, I think there's about 5 pages in total. So it's important that you read these and try and understand. You know, these are the, can't think of the word. You used the word earlier. What did you say?
When I was
Aims.
talking,
Yeah, aims. Did you say aims?
yeah,
Or
it's sort of
yeah.
aims, ambitions. What is the
Ambitions?
mission?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
if we have certain ambitions, you know,
yeah,
the funder has certain ambitions. It's great
yeah,
when they can align, because then there's a natural fit.
yeah. So yeah, these are the ambitions in Mid Wales, Cardi and Powys. These are of what have been outlined, and then so that's question 27. Yeah. So pages 8 to 16 for community projects, and then 17 to 23 are the challenges for the business projects. So
Catherine, if I can just check, when we get this form, we'll be able to access those links, or if not, we can just Google and get the URL.
Yeah. If you just type in Mid Wales Regional Investment Plan, it should come up in
Find it
Google anyway.
anyway.
Yeah. So it's a PDF document within the website.
Great, thank you.
So the same with the Cardi Economic Strategy. So within the strategy, it's identified 4 priorities. So people, place, enterprise, and connectivity. And then if you go through the document, for each priority, it'll give you ambitions. So here it is. So for example, priority 1, people live, work and grow in Ceredigion. So it shows you the ambition here. And it's got quite a lot of information about where Ceredigion stands currently and where they want to go. So you'll need to show, you know, how your project fits in with these priorities. The same with the Mid Wales Regional Investment Plan. So for question 28, how does the project fit in with the 4 priorities noted in Ceredigon's economic strategy? People, place, enterprise, connectivity. Does the project fit in with and support the strategy's future ambitions note in the strategy? So any questions regarding those?
Can I jump in? If there are any questions about how you can fit the projects to those, we at Cwrdd can always help you with that if you do need some support. So, yeah.
Okay, that's useful. Is there a limit on, you know, is there a word count or a minimum or a maximum that we should, because you could put in a lot of information in those
Yeah.
sections, and we don't want to bore the assessment panel to
Well, we said at the start, be as concise as possible and limited your responses to less than 500 words per section. But obviously, you know, if we want quality over quantity, I guess. But you know, if you think your project fits in with more priorities, then please go ahead and list them. You know, it's all evidence on why the panel should support your project in the end.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So question 29, what steps have you taken to ensure that your project will not duplicate existing provision? So here you need to show that you've done your research into your competitors, or if you know of any competitors. If there is a similar business or organization, show what makes yours different. What's the project's unique selling point? So, you know, if you've got community halls, for example, you know, there's 3 community halls in the area, but only one offers hybrid meeting facilities. You know, that just shows how your project is going to attract different users in the end. So question 30, describe what need and demand you have for the project. What engagement have you undertaken with local stakeholders and the community to inform your application, and what support you have from them? Please include any letters of support if applicable. So who are your current customers? How do you know your target audience are there and required? Use data and evidence here to support what you're saying. So for example, if you're a business or organization that want to install solar panels to reduce costs, what are the current costs and how, you know, show in your application how the solar panels are going to reduce your costs. You know, it's all about evidence. And if you've got data to back the evidence, then that's, you know, great. It just helps the panel have a clearer view on why your project is worthwhile. So if you've got any supporting letters as well from businesses or customers or people that use your organization, you know, that's a good supporting evidence for you as well. Question 31. Describe how your project will ensure equality and not discriminate the relevant affected groups based on protected characteristics. So how does the project ensure it is open to all and doesn't discriminate? If you've got any internal policies regarding this, please mention them here. So question 32, what effects will the activity have on the Welsh language, and are those positive or negative? So you know, you need to show here that you're following the principles set out in the Council's Welsh language standards. What services can you offer through the medium of Welsh? So examples here, marketing of service will be bilingual, website will be bilingual, ensure that everything is translated correctly, or if you've got volunteers or staff that are happy to converse with customers in Welsh or English. So question 33, how does the project support the government's net zero ambitions or wider environmental considerations? There's a few links there to documents that you can refer to or give you ideas. So all proposed activities should be based on low or zero carbon best practice and support the growing skills and supply chains in support of net zero where possible. As a minimum, investment under this fund must not conflict with the UK's legal commitment to cut greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2050. So, for example, have you got any internal green or sustainability policies? Do you use responsible suppliers? What do you do with your business organization waste? You know, do you have recycle plans or anything like that you can show here? So any more questions on that section before I move on to the next one? Okay, so part 4, project and risk management. So list the key milestones in the delivery of your project, include start and completion dates. So milestones may include, for example, procurement, building work commencement, recruiting staff, planning permissions, etc. So our only comment here is, ensure the a time scale is realistic. As I mentioned earlier, the assessment process usually takes 4 to 6 weeks. So, don't think you're going to start anything 1st of March, because that's not very realistic. And, try and be as clear as possible what are the steps to implementing your project. So what are the main risks in delivering your project, and how will you mitigate these risks? So for example, the items, if you want to purchase items, they might be out of stock. Do you have a reserve supplier as a backup? Or if you're employing staff, for example, that you've got someone in the team or in your already employed can take on the work if your recruitment is having issues or whatever. So 36, describe the process that will be used to monitor and manage project risks. So will there be a designated member of staff or volunteer in charge of monitoring the project? So, for example, is your treasurer in charge, or your secretary? Just basically who is in charge of managing the project. So describe what governance arrangements are in place to manage the funding and the activities. So for example, if you've got a committee, who's in charge of the committee, financial controls, audits, have you got insurance and that kind of stuff there. So part 5, funding package. So this is where you'll need to go to Annex 3, which is the cost spreadsheet. So if I just scroll down. So here is Annex 3 financial profile. So if I click on this icon there, it will open up the spreadsheet, hopefully. There we are. So this is what the spreadsheet looks like. So all sections in grey, these have been locked. So they have formulas that will calculate everything for you. So don't panic if you can't change anything. You're not allowed to change them. So if there's a coloured section, then these are the sections you need to complete. So at the top, your name of project, applicant name, and then the date completed. So there's a note here: complete the revenue and capital tabs and provide as much detail as possible regarding the project costings. Only the coloured cells can be edited. All grey cells will be calculated automatically. So the max you can get through the grant is £50,000, and there's an 80-20 intervention rate. So the Cynnal Cardi fund will pay for 80%, and then your organisations will need to contribute 20%. So this summary tab will show you the 80%, the 20%, and then the total project cost. So it will all calculate automatically from what you put in on the revenue and capital tabs. So if I click on the revenue, this is what the revenue tab looks like. So as I said, all the green sections, you will be able to fill in. The grey sections have formulas in them that will calculate automatically. In the first round, we didn't lock the cells, and everyone was fidgeting with the formulas and it messed everything up. So we just thought it would be easier to lock them to save the confusion on our end. So for example, I'll just zoom in a bit. So for example, marketing, business cards, new sign, as per quote, ABC 1234. So the total cost is £500, and then the spreadsheet will work out what 80% is and what 20% is. And then at the bottom, you can see, so the total project cost is 500. The Cardi funding will cover £400, and then the organisation will need to contribute 20%, which is £100. Same as new business laptop and programs. So Q1, we're going to spend £850 on the laptop. £680 of this will be funded by the grant, and then 20% will be match. So it'll then calculate everything, all the spends at the end, and then these will feed back into the summary sheet. So for example, the capital as well, so new machinery as per quote, £8,000, £2,000, total is £10,000. So then it works out again, the total cost is £10,000, Cardi will fund £8,000, which is 80%, and then the match will be £2,000. And this again feeds back into the summary sheet. So any questions regarding the spreadsheet?
We've got a question on the chat. Capital revenue than capital funds.
Sorry, you cut out a bit there. I'll try and open the chat to see.
Yeah, Rebecca, we lost you a bit there. So the question was, do you need to apply to do you need to apply for more revenue than capital? So is there a set percentage between revenue and capital, or is it up to the project?
No, it's up to the project. Each project has its own needs. So yeah, it's completely up to the project.
We do have another question. Jill has left, but there was a question about funding from a match funding. Does the match funding need to be in cash, or can be in kind of like staff time, or is there a source of match funding you can't accept?
It has to be cash only. We can't accept in kind, and you can't use Welsh Government funding as match for UK SPF funding. Any other questions?
Not that particular section.
Okay. So when you close the Excel spreadsheet, it will automatically save in the application form. If you want peace of mind, you can save as, and send it to us separately, but it should save automatically. And just a note as well, if you're VAT registered, we'll only be reimbursing the net value of costs. So if you're buying, I don't know, a laptop and £200 of it is VAT, then we'll only be paying the rest. We won't be paying you the VAT.
I'm assuming it's editable as well, Catherine, is it? We can click on it on another day and tweak the figures. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's Annex 3. So I'll go back to where I was. Yeah, funding package. So once you've done the annex, just tick yes, and tick that you've included at least 20%. So you can put more in, but 20% is the minimum. So where's the match funding being secured from? Loan or savings. So just note, Welsh Government funding cannot be used as match funding for any UK SPF Cynnal project. So 41, explain how you estimated the project budget. So for example, research similar costs online. You've received quotes from different suppliers, staff costs of ex post salaries. Just show us how you've managed to get these costs. So question 42, have you provided quotes to support the costs noted in Annex 3? So if you go, this is a link to the procurement guidelines in the grant guidance. So I'll just open that up to show you. So page 7, so procurement. So here's the council's procurement rules that you'll need to follow. So if you're buying one item between 0 and 4,999, you'll need to provide one quote. But if you're anything more than £5,000, you'll need to at least, inquire for at least 4, and you'll need to provide 2. And again, 25,000 plus, there's another rule here as well. So that's all on the guidance, and there's a link within the application form to the guidance. So part 6, subsidy control. So in this table here, if you've received any UK Gov or Welsh Government funding, just list them here. So value of assistance, date of assistance, and then total them up. I think, yeah, you can have up to 315,000. And then there's a self-assessment here as well. Because the amounts are so small, because the grant is quite small, I don't think this will apply for any of the organisations anyway, but just have a read through anyway and double check. And there's just a couple more questions there as well regarding subsidy control. Part 7, monitoring and evaluation. When you do your final claim, if your project is successful, you'll need to report back on the outputs and outcomes that you've listed in the application form. So here you just need to, it's just basically making sure that you understand you'll need to provide the evidence at the end of the project. So part 8 then, exit strategy. Please outline your exit strategy, i.e. how will the project continue once this funding has come to an end? Consider what, if any, activities will continue and how these will be funded. So, once this funding has come to an end, how are you going to make sure that your services are still available to people? So, for example, if you're a community hall and you're buying hybrid meeting equipment, you're going to market, you're going to create marketing materials and share on your social medias or with local people so that they know about the equipment, so on and so forth. So any other questions on that section before I go to the outputs and outcomes? Okay. So the only part left of the application form then is the outputs and outcomes. We are given from the UK government a list of outputs and outcomes that we have to meet as part of the funding. So it just gives you a list of some here. So for example, number of commercial buildings developed or improved, increased footfall, increased visitor numbers, jobs created, amount of rehabilitated land, so on and so forth. So here you need to choose the outputs and outcomes that will come directly from your project. So choose realistic numbers and provide rationale to explain calculations. So example of, we've had the previous application, they wanted to put solar panels on their organisation and they chose increased footfall. Well, putting solar panels isn't going to draw more people to your organization. So, choose the ones that are direct. So if you were having solar panels, for example, you'd choose, what is it? Greenhouse gas reductions, that's the one you choose, or increased take-up of energy efficiency measures. So only choose the outputs that are directly from your project, okay? There are 2 links here on the application form, and these will take you to output and outcome indicators. So it just gives you more detail on each output and each outcome. So for example, which one is an easy one to choose? So number of facilities supported, created, the is number of amenities, facilities created or improved, and then it gives you a description on what the output and outcome means. and then if you scroll over to the end, in the blue, it shows what evidence you'll need to provide at the end of your project. So for example, if I open the, you also need to take into account when you're choosing the outputs and outcomes, can you actually evidence these? Because if you can't evidence them, you know, it's going to be hard for you at the end of the project. So example, increased footfall, number of people. Increased footfall is the increase in count of people within a given area or a given time. Reporting will also facilitate the option to report a decrease metric. And then evidence then will need project data that will evidence increased footfall, number of people. So footfall reports, attendance logs. Projects will need to establish baseline data to determine the increase in footfall. So these documents will be quite handy for you when you're completing the outputs and outcomes section. As the same thing with the investment priorities, if you're a community project, don't choose outputs under supporting local business. And if you're a business project, don't choose outputs under the communities in place investment priority. It should be from one or the other. So then at the end of the application form, we've added this in because on the previous round, a lot of the supporting documents were missing. So we just wanted, you know, that you've got the list to make sure that you've got everything before you send us your application. So application form, which is this document that you've completed, all the annexes, any supporting documents in support of the project, supporting letters or planning approval, for example. A recent bank statement, it has to have a name, address, bank account number and a sort code. 2 years most recent formal accounts. If you're a newly set up organisation, just that you've got a business plan or some kind of plan instead. Supporting match funding letters or proof of match funding. You know, if someone's contributing the match funding, we need a letter from them just to show that they're happy. Or if you're just using it from your bank account, then the recent bank statement's fine. We don't need an additional letter.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
If you have a group of people who promise to, for example, put on an event which they'll give the money to you for the match funding, but it's not happening yet, is that valid or not?
Could you get a letter from them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way. Because you won't be the way the grant works is you will spend the money first and then we'll reimburse you 80%. So you don't actually need to send us the 20%.
Yes.
That's how that works.
Okay.
What sort of time frame, Catherine, typically from the time that we spend? So we've appointed a contractor, we paid his invoice.
Yeah.
What's the turnaround time before we get the cash?
So as long as we've got all the evidence, so when it comes to claiming, you'll all get an individual claim form, and then with you'll fill in the details on the claim form, and then you'll need to send us an invoice, and so an invoice from the contractor, and then you'll need to send us a bank statement just showing that you've paid the contractor. So you know, as soon as you've got those, you can send us the claim form, and we'll try and get it back to you within 7 days then.
Okay.
So written quotes as per procurement and guidelines in section 8 of this document. If you're employing anyone new, we'd like to see a job description. And then again, a business plan only if you're a newly set up. You know, if you're a business and you want to send us a business plan, that's fine. And then the last section, you'll be glad to hear, is the project applicant statement. So this, once you've finished the application, just sign here. You don't have to sign it with it doesn't have to be a wet signature. You can just sign it on as a Word signature. And then email your applications to this email address here. We've also asked before you send us an application form, just to send us a quick email with what your project is and what your project costs are, just because we want to check it's eligible before you go to the effort of, you know, doing all these pages. You know, we don't want you to go to the effort and then find out that your project isn't eligible from the start. So yeah, if you can just email Cardi, this email address here, with the just you know, a couple of sentences what your project is, and then we can get back to you then and give you the go ahead to do the application form. So that's all I think I've got to share. So any other questions?
Just one question from me. You mentioned about the